Hello, welcome back to the grind. Anybody new along, welcome to the grind also. So here I am, this week's all about taking apart the motor. And apart it is, much as apart. And so then I got the motor apart last week, I think. Last time, yeah. And now this time here I was doing mostly about getting the head cleaned up and the valves cleaned up and ground out. So I did that. Like, they're all looking pretty good as far as I can tell, and the seats are looking pretty good too. Oh, you can see them right here. I did lap them all and made them look good. I checked all this stuff with a micrometer. Every bit of this motor is at the edge of the tolerance. Like, so it's all within tolerance, but just at the edge of the tolerance. And so I'll put it together again, and with new bearings, because the bearings on the main bearings were wore out, and they're over here. Oh, where am I? Gotta go around this way. Main bearings are pretty well, they're down to gray, right? And that means that, what does that mean? That means that they were never changed to new. The bearings they did an upper end of this car, like new rings, and these are brand new bearings in there, except this one here, they let some dirt into it. Anyway, that's all right. I have new bearings for them, and everything's standard size still, so nothing is oversized. And the only thing oddball is the pistons. They're 100% within spec this way, and a little bit off spec this way. There's a little bit oblong to them, so they're whatever the distance is supposed to be. I think it was 50 millimeters or something like that, and this way here was 0.3 or 0.4 over what it should be. So anyhow, but that's 0.03 or 0.04 millimeters over what it should be. But we're doing what we call a refresh. We're not doing a complete rebuild on it. So I'll refresh the motor and then see how it goes. If we need to, it's not like I don't have time. So if I need to, I'll take it apart again, but I don't think I'll need to, because my BMW E24, which is over in that shop, it's got 180,000 kilometers on it, and I don't think the motor's ever been touched. So this will likely it's been going for 50 years now. I'm pretty sure it'll go for another 10 or 20 years under my driving. Then it'll be somebody else's problem, right? So car's up there waiting for these things to get into it. Okay, so enjoy it all. Stick around, see what I did, and enjoy it all. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends. See you later. Bye. Here we are, going again. Now, had to be the water input there, right? Or output. Anyway, what happens underneath here? Does that have all the... Yeah, water goes in here or out there and in through all this stuff. Who knows? Okay. But first, I will see if I can get... This would be the drive for the distributor. I'll get that off. And that's the... under that oil pressure sensor? I'll bet you it is. Right there. Might be. Anyway, we'll get that all off of there and see what happens next. Yeah, okay, that comes off easily enough. I think that's the first time that's been off in 50 years, right? And that's the drive for the drive, what do you call this thing? Distributor drive right there. No wear at all on it, so we're all good there. I've got an unlimited supply of these little paint buckets, so I use them for putting parts in. I'll get this off of here, which is the oil splasher, I guess, for a better word. Yeah, so everything on this is 13 or 10, except for this one, which is a 12. And it's got copper washers on it. And then, oops, drop that in there, good idea. Then maybe you can see that little Little hole right there, another little hole right here, one right there, one right there, one right at the end. That just splashes oil on the camshaft and everything while it's running and keeps everything lubed up. Simple. Okay, now to where am I? These little bolts here are the adjusters for the camshaft, or crank, or whatever you call these, lifters. So we want to make it so that they're as loose as possible. So you do that by taking a 10mm wrench. Where's my wrench? Right here. Loosen this off. Two-handed operation here. Hang on. Everything's two-handed. Ah, come on. Okay. I'll see if I can set you up right there. Okay. Then I've got a little punch here that sort of fits right into that. There's a hole there that's made for adjusting them. So you just turn this back so it's free, and then you can turn that way, and that creates some movement there. Doesn't matter when, like for this case here, it doesn't matter if you loosen it first. Loosen the holding nut first, then you can turn that, and then it creates lots of freedom there. Every one of them. So there's 8 of them all together, right? That one must be tight. When they're loose, there's no pressure on the camshaft. That's loose now. Well, as loose as it gets. Anyway, then the next step is to turn this around until there's only pressure on. It should be able to get us a point where there's only pressure on 3 of these lifters, right? I think that's right. That one, no pressure, no pressure, no pressure. Pressure there, 1, 2, no pressure, 3. So that one, no, that one, no, that one, and that one have pressure on them. Then there's build a little tool to pull on that so that it releases the pressure, and then you can pull this out of here. Now that might be a two-handed operation. I think I have to take these bolts off of here first. 2 bolts that are steadies for that. Then, okay, I'll work on my little tool. It says to get special tool number blah blah blah, or else build a tool that looks like that. So I guess I'm gonna be doing a little bit of building here. Yeah, so there's my little tool. Just make a try number 1, try number 2, and then try number 3. So it's got to be pretty tight to it, right? And it's got to be long enough to reach way down here. Then, oops, because you don't want to screw up everything, right? Oh yeah, there. Supposed to have a little bend on the end of it there, so maybe I'll make it out of better steel. Yeah, so that's the grinder winding down. So I made it with, I don't know what width that is. I think it's a bit better than an 1/8 inch. But then I had to grind the ends off a little bit to make it so they'll fit into there. And all this stuff is pretty soft aluminum, so you don't want to be scratching on it too bad. You can see it's been apart before. Somebody else did the same thing with a tool in there. So, need to make 2 more. And it's got a bit of a bend on it. I'll smooth this out so it's nicer on the hands. Then I'll have to mark them as special tool number 5577, eh? Okay. Yeah, so what I'll do, and I'll do it better this time, I'll drill a hole right there. Then I'll cut the, see that one there, I kind of missed a bit. Then I'll cut the steel up to there. So I'll have to move it back that way a bit. Yeah, there's slot cut. Now, stick it right in there, like about that. And give it a bit of a bend. Like that idea. Might be too much of a bend. I can unbend it if I have to. Then I have to grind it on here to make it nicer. But first I'll cut it off to the length. Yeah, so that came out. That was interesting. The so these, like the little valve lifter things, work pretty good. But I had to, you know, keep moving along. This one here, I just clamped it down so that it was out of the way, and then I only had to worry about two of them. And they slip off the thing a little bit, but then they get back on it. So it all went together. Now I don't know how these come apart, but I guess that'll be the next step, right? Once you get it started and past the end, wait till I get this thing out of here. So here, I've got the motor, or the head, sort of clamped down with a couple of clamps there and a piece of wood, just to keep it from rocking. Now, then this part here, like it all fits in here. And once you get it like past the first few, you just keep rattling it back and forth and it'll go in. See, now this one here, I'll have to lift that one there a little bit to make it fit underneath that and then carry on. But that's basically how it came out of there. Just keep turning it until you get it lined up where it'll come through. Now I think those, I got to take a good look at that camshaft. Hang on. Yeah, here I am. Cleaner rig. That rig's pretty clean. Well, yeah, that's a good idea. Whack it on stuff. It all looks pretty good. Can you see all that? I don't see any serious wear marks. There is some wear on it, but nothing serious. And the bushings are like built in. Yeah, I know, there's just, it just fits in there. It doesn't, there's no bushings involved. Remember, this thing only turns half as fast as the motor does, so if the motor's turning over at 3,000 RPM, this thing here is turning over at like 1,500 RPM. As far as I can tell, that all looks pretty awful good. Don't think I have to worry about that a bit. This end here is a little bit worn in that bushing there. So, but they're all about the same. It looks like they got 50 years on it, right? But no rust, so that's good. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now I'll figure out how to get these things out of here. Here, you know what? I don't have to take these things out to get the valves out. I just have to flip them up, right? So let's do that because they all slide nice. There's nothing catching on any of them. So I think we're okay there. I'm not gonna, and this part of the thing must be good, because otherwise it'd be wearing on that, right? So don't dick with them. I'll just take the valves out and we'll clean up the valves. That makes life easier, doesn't it? So I've got this thing here set up, inlet and exhaust. These valves are likely bigger than the holes I've got drilled here. So this is exhaust side, is it? Tell me that. Is that exhaust or inlet side? I think it's exhaust. Can't tell. Exhaust ones should be smaller. Yeah. This side here is exhaust. That side's inlet. Okay, that's solved. Now so I've got them marked inlet exhaust all the way along there. Might have to just drill a hole in the center of each one of these things, big enough to take one of those shafts. Okay, I'll do that. Oh, okay, I got holes drilled already. One inlet exhaust, right? Inlet exhaust. The way that the TR7's set up, it's that's the way it sits in the motor. It goes inlet exhaust, inlet exhaust, exhaust, inlet, inlet exhaust. This one here, because the way the cam works on it, it's just 4 exhaust and 4 inlets. There's no order to them really. But, so I've got these holes drilled along here, so I'll just, this exhaust valve goes there for number 1. Number 2, the exhaust valve goes here. Number 3, the exhaust valve goes here. Number 4, the exhaust valve goes here. So I'll just pull them out, put them in there, and that way they're in a semblance of order. Yeah, so there's my valve machine. It's really not the best in the world, but it's not bad. So I'll see if I can get these to come free. Is that looking the right way? Yeah, pretty close. Gotta sort of hold on to this so it doesn't twist. There we go. Now I gotta get my magnet, see if I can get them out with the magnet. See if I can get all the metal shavings off of it before I start. Hang on a minute. Yeah, a little blast of compressed air is good for getting debris off that. A little bit farther in yet, hey? One of them, valve keepers, is that what they're called? 2 of them. And this should just come out again. Moves over to the next one. So here's how they sit. There's a valve spring thing on the top here. You likely can't see what I'm doing there. I'd have to give that a bit of a whack to get it out of there. Nothing here to whack it with, hang on. And then there's a seat thing at the bottom. Yeah, the seat is all good, and it seemed to be fairly tight in there. I'll check the exhaust. That's where that goes. I'll check that after a while. And it looks like there's a seal here anyhow, eh? So that's, how do I get that out of there? Let me get a pair of pliers. I'll have to check into how to get that off of there. Hang on a minute or two. Yeah, that's the valve seal. Not very easy to get out, but I got it out. I think I have an idea now for the next ones. I'll show you on the next ones how I did it. This little springy thing came off of it, but it's still got some rubber to it, but it'll be getting new ones. Now, what happened to my spring? There's the spring. Spring goes there. Then this part here should come out now. Not that it really has to, but there. And that's the valve, that's what the valve spring sits on. So the valve spring sits on that, and then this is the top of it here. And that should come apart somehow or other, but won't worry about it too much right now. That's all there. Okay, there's one out. Now, to check the so to check this, you're allowed to have a certain amount of movement on that valve there. And actually that one feels pretty good, but I can check it with a, I think it goes right to there. You put it in to the end of it there, and then check how much movement there is at the top here. I think that one feels like it's pretty good. So, but I can check it with a, like this thing here later on. I'll do that. First I'll get them out of here. That'll be next is coming. Yeah, so to get that valve seal out of there, I just get a screwdriver underneath it and worry it a bit back and forth, and it comes. There it goes. And then you need your magnet to fish it out of there. There it is. Now, wait a minute. So I just put it over here beside the valve and put the two little keepers inside it like that. So I know which one goes. It doesn't really matter where the keepers go because they're all the same, right? Then I'd be able to just, same thing, worry that valve seat thing out of there. Just a little bit of persuasion and it comes along. That's famous last words. I'll get it out just a minute. Maybe this will do it. Yeah, there. Pair of long nose pliers makes it easier. Then that goes right there, like that. Okay, so that's same for 8 more times. I'll show you if there's anything different. Yeah, there, that's the exhaust valves out. And it looks pretty promising there. A little bit like they haven't been used for a while, so there's a little bit of corrosion on a couple that were sitting open. But now have a look at these ones here. Have a look here. Oops. Dumping out my very careful stuff here. This is number 4. All looks pretty good. And the top of it, that's clean. I'll clean that off with the wire on the wire wheel. And then I'll take a wire wheel to this stuff here, clean that all up. Then we'll lap them down. But first, I've got to get these ones out, but that'll be a tomorrow thing because it's quitting time today and it's thundering out. Isn't that something? Yeah, so as I was reading the book, when I was testing the inner lobe wear, there is where I should have been testing the end play, not here, because here is very difficult to get into. That you can just get into. Anyhow, I'll take it apart again and just check that, but I think we're okay. Yeah, here I found myself waiting around for parts to come, and so some did come, those boxes there, but what do you do when you're waiting around, eh? Build these things. If you're watching Vito, you can guess where this is going. See you later. There it is, traveling towards this new home. Yeah, so there it is. There's a camera on the house right up there. The owners can see it later whenever they look at the camera. There you go. Someday I'll come down and paint it, perhaps. Okay, got some fancy measuring devices. See this thing here? Now, first thing I did was determine that with using less fancy measuring devices, because I don't have a micrometer that goes that big here, using this device here and putting it down the cylinder like that and measuring with this tool, which is pretty accurate, pretty precise, and this tool, which is just as precise, then, and I also checked them against like a 1-inch or a 25 millimeter tester, and they're right on that way. Now you only get, the graduation here is 0.02 millimeters, so you can sort of read 1 millimeter on the, I don't know if you can see that, see the red, the little red thing there, it'll read 1 millimeter. Anyway, doing that, I was able to measure across here about, I don't know if you can see that little black line down there, yeah, right there. I measured across there with that. Came out, it's 89, exactly 89 millimeters there, which is the way it is when it comes out of the factory. Then you put this, you got this fancy thing in here, right? You can put that in, and down on that line, and it should come to about 0 there. See, that goes to 0, and then it starts going, it went to a 0.01, but then it starts going negative again. I don't know if you can see that or not. See, it's a negative 0.3 there. Gets down to 0. Goes to 0 plus 0.1, and then negative again. So that means that 0 is, well, 89 millimeters. So then I measure them, that there, and then down the bore, measure it again, up the bore, measure it again. And so when you're sitting this way, it is indeed 89 millimeters straight up and down. So then you turn it this way and do the same measurements, and you get, like when you, let me see if I can get this without falling out of the chair. So now when you're turned at 90 degrees, see, you get a plus 0.4 there, and then it starts getting smaller again when you go back and forth. Plus 0.4, and then down farther into the bore, it's the same thing, it gets plus 0.4. So that means, that says that the this way here, across here it's 89 millimeters, this way here it's 89 millimeters plus 0.04 millimeters. This one here, same thing, 89, And there's no taper to it. Like it seems to be the same. There's no taper. It's straight. This one here, 89 across this way, 89.05. This one's 89.05 across here, and this one's 89.04 across here. And they're all 89 this way. So now I have to do some research and find out whether that's within tolerance. I think it is. The tolerance on the thing is, in fact, I know like that is within tolerance. So 89 millimeters plus 0.22 millimeters. So I've got 0.04 millimeters on the wide side. So it's a little bit out of tolerance, isn't it? It's 89 millimeters one way, but it's a little bit out of tolerance on the other side. So 0.02 millimeters out of tolerance on the other side. Which, you know what? I'm going to live with that because I'll put new rings in it and then run it. I'm not building a race car. So as long as it's fairly close to being right and there's nothing like way wore out, I'm going to be happy with it. So it'll be what you call not a rebuilt but a refreshed motor. I guess that's the way you do it. Anyway, but I know that this way here is right, that way there is a bit wrong, and there's no taper to it. So that's how it is. Yeah, so there now I've got these all measured up. No measurable, no taper. It might be like a millimeter taper on it, but there is an oblong to it. They're wider this way than they are this way. This way they're 89 millimeters right on in all cases. And this way, this one's here is 89.04 millimeters. This one's 89.04 or 03 millimeters. This one here might be 0.5 millimeters. And this one here is about 0.3 millimeters. So that's as much as I know. And that's slightly out of tolerance because it's supposed to be only 0.02 millimeters for tolerance, right? So it's more than tolerance, but I'm going to put it together and I'll put the ring gaps so they meet here or here, and that'll make it so that it'll squeeze easier into the oblong. And I'll put one ring gap here, one ring gap here. I'll put the oil ring over there. That sort of idea when I put it together, somewhere around there. Maybe I'll put them there, and there would be a good idea, wouldn't it? One there. Compression there, second ring there, third ring here, and that would make it so the rings come together and slide easier into the oblong, and maybe just break in, and well, should be okay. Well, famous last words. It'll be fine. Anyhow, that's the way it's going to be because I'm not going to send this block out to be bored. One thing is, very difficult to find anybody around here that does it. In fact, impossible. And number two is, it's not like I'm not building a racing motor. I just want to make sure that it's fairly good when I go back running it. The biggest thing I was concerned about was having seized up rings, and yes, there was. So I'll fix that. And anybody with an eagle eye, and I'm sure there's somebody out there with an eagle eye, likely noticed that this is wrong, right? The spring should be the other way around, so this pops out, and I will fix that. And I also will take this apart again and just check I have a new gasket for it, so I'll put a new gasket in, and I'll check that's the oil pump, by the way, and I'll check the clearance on the pointy end. Now, and I've also cleaned out this drawer here, put all my precise measurement tools in there. This drawer here is just full of junk. Anyway, that's where all the precise measurement tools will live, and they'll be reasonably safe in there. Okay, now next, the bits that I ordered have arrived. This is rings and bearings, and whatever else I ordered there, I forget. Anyhow, but they're here, and I can start reconstructing the motor. But first I'm going to go through and finish measuring these things properly, just so I know. And again, I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to send it in for reconditioning or anything like that. It's just going to put new bearings on it and everything like that. These things here, they're good. They're the right length, right? They're the right size. But I'll double check them and make sure. Okay. Yeah, so here I've got this fancy machine now too, which is kind of fun to have. So I spent last evening getting it set up properly. So you put in this one here to make these things come to factory, calibrate them. They're supposed to come with a 2-inch little block thing that goes in there. It didn't come with that, but it came with the other one I had a 1-inch one and a 25mm one. So I finagled it around. It's got to be at 2 inches, which is 50.4 millimeters. Is that right? Or 50.8? 50.8 millimeters. And that's the reset point. And how to reset them is just, you set it on here to 50.8 millimeters, pull the battery out, and then put the battery back in, and that sets it to the right size, and then double check it, and indeed it was right. So these things, these big end these journals here, the ones that are whatever you call them, the main bearings, they're supposed to be 55 millimeters. I'm just going to check them. And this thing here, I don't know if you can hear that little click, but I have a little click there. 54.953 millimeters on there. I'll turn it. Again, it's a matter of getting it to the right spot. 54.956 millimeters there. So let's go read the book and see what the tolerances are. Hang on. So you're allowed to have 0.2 millimeters of wear before they have to be redone. And these are right, pretty close to the wear limit. You got to be so careful when you're measuring the things that you don't measure in the wrong spot. That's 55.088 where I measured there, but then if I do it again, a little bit too tight. 54.972, so 54.98. I'm pretty awful close to the tolerance on that one. I'll just turn it around some, measure it again. $54.991 going that way. So that one is within tolerance. Now I'll try again here. Now it's got to the absolute business. 54.97. So you can set it to, if I set this to 55, right? So that's set at 54.999, and then I set it so that it's got 000. So now we'll know if it's how much smaller it is. Don't have to think about it anymore. You know how much I like to think. Right about there. 0.044 smaller. 0.023 smaller. So that's, you know, depends how you measure it, and I think I'm measuring it pretty close here. Yeah, 0.023 smaller, so that's tolerance, right at the tolerance. We'll twist it around a bit more here. Very difficult to get it lined up right on the right spot. .019, .014, so that's tolerance, right? So now I'll go through the rest of them. I'll let you know if there's any that are way out. That one there feels like it's pretty good. Yeah, so they're coming in .019, .015 off of smaller than factory. I'll do the rest and I'll let you know anything different. Okay, this one here came out at 00, so it's right on. This one here, .01. This one here is .02. This one here is .015 or 18. This one here is .014 or 15, something like that. Anyhow, all within tolerance. So I'm happy with that, and I'll just remeasure all these journals here again. So these are all 47 point, those ones, 47.98, 47.98, 47.98, 47.98. They're all, you know, within .01 or .02 of that there, and the wear limit is 0.25, so they're within the wear limit. So everything is in the wear limit. So I'm happy with that. And I've got new in here, there's new shells or bearing shells, you know what you call, whatever you call those things. So now I'll go back to the head and see about getting the rest of the valves out of it. It's 4:20 already. Busy day. Day goes by fast. Yesterday I was doing other stuff. Maybe, yeah, I'll show you that. It'll be on the, you will have seen that by now. Okay, I'll get some more valves out of it. Then we'll clean that up and likely get the valves out today. Tomorrow I'll clean it up and reseat the valves. I've got like a lap them. It's called lapping, when you just put the grinding compound on there and turn it back and forth until they come out nice and smooth and clean. And I'll also clean them all up on the wire wheel. So okay, but that's coming up soon. I'll get the rest of the valves out first. Yeah, so there's all the valves. Exhaust, 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 exhaust. Intake, 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 intake. And the springs and stuff, and then down below here's what it sits on. And this comes off, right? Okay, I'm not concerned at all about those things. This now those are the keepers in there. But you see, to get this thing off of here, the valve seal, getting that off was a chore, but I just got in underneath it with in between it and the base plate, like that's aluminum down there at the bottom, right? Down at the bottom, that's aluminum. But I got it on between the valve guide and the base plate with a screwdriver and just worked it like that until it came off. And a little bit painful, and I'll have to find a proper way to put them on. Likely I'll be able to find a long socket and just stick them in there and push them on tight, because they got to be on tight. Anyhow, but then as I was pulling out the valves, I just shook every one of them for to see how much, you know, movement is. And these valves, the ones that are like here, like yeah, this one. This you just bring it out to about there. I don't know if you can see that, but then check to see if there's any motion. And this one here, no motion in it, and no motion in any of the what do you call that, intake valves. Then on the exhaust valve, stick that one in, and you pull it out till it's just even with the top of the guide, and that's got just a tiny bit of motion on it, and I don't think that's enough to count, but I'll measure it. Like, you can just feel a little bit of movement in it. So, but I think we're okay for valve guides. I will check. I'll read the book and see if I'm going to ignore that too. Hey, nice to know all these measurements and then ignore them, but most of them are all right. The only ones that are oddball is actual cylinders, right? And they're close enough. Yeah, that's enough for today. I got that apart as far as it's going to go. Now tomorrow I'll clean it up like it needs to be cleaned on the outside here, and I'll just find something nice to clean it up with, and then clean these up, and then we'll reseat them, put them back together. Now, as far as the connecting rods and crankshaft, they're supposed to be like wait for that one. It's supposed to be numbers on either there or there. This one has a number right. I don't know, can you see? Oh, wait, I'll put it somewhere where you can see. Put it somewhere where I can see it. There is a number 1 right there, but there's no corresponding number 1 on this side, and no numbers at all on this side. So that leads me to believe that those are new connecting rods. So, and they didn't ever get marked. So perhaps I'll mark them so that I know which is which. I didn't ever get anything mixed up, so I'll just mark them with my markers, and that will be forever marked. Now, as long as I've got them on the right way, I think they are. Hard to say when that happens. I'll read the book a bit more. Yeah, it doesn't say anything else. Can't. There's no other identification. Maybe I'll look online and see if I can find something. But for now, anyhow, enough today. See you later. So cleaning up all these on the wire wheel. Those ones look like brand new after they're done. This is also an intake valve. These ones got a little bit of, that's got some dirt on it. That one there came out nice and clean. So I'll clean up this one, I'll show you. Yeah, there they've all oh. There's what that one. That's an exhaust. That's an intake. That looks like a brand new valve. I bet you they're new. Well, who knows, eh? Anyway, now I'll just take a little bit of sandpaper or something, see if I can get that scraped off there. Get that scraped off. Maybe even a razor blade. We'll just check it out. Yeah, there I brushed it all down with grease remover and then rinsed it off with water. I didn't use high pressure water. I just used, just rinsed it with water. You could likely get another brush of the stuff. But I'll go ahead and set the valves right now, and I'll blow it off with air to get rid of all the, get rid of some of the water, especially in there. Okay. And so on. Now, some of this stuff. Big blast, right? We'll give it a big blast. That might get rid of some of the leftover water in the system there. WD 40, water displacement 40. Okay, I'll just turn it upside down and let it drip for a while, and then I'll go ahead and start doing the valve lapping. So let's have a, while that stuff is dripping out there, I'll just take this off and check it. I've changed the, you want to see how that is? Hang on. Now I've checked the length of the spring, right? Find some place that's clean here. So it should sit in like this into the spring, and then the spring sits into the plunger like that. Then it all goes in here. And you sort of have to finagle it a bit there to get it come out the right end. That goes up there like that. And then there's a, used to be, there's an O-ring here. This is, like, I haven't changed this O-ring yet. I'll clean that out after again. But I just put that O-ring in there for now to hold on to everything, keep it from popping out. That's the original. Now I'll take this off here and check the clearance and likely put a new gasket on there. Oh, last time I had it apart, I was trying to check it in that little tiny gap up there. Should be checking right here. And so yes, it is in tolerance. It's supposed to be between 12 and 20, and it's just a 20 is a real tight fit, and 15 slides in. So we're happy with that. Okay, now I'll see if I can find the proper gasket for that. Yeah, so I went hunting for a gasket. It doesn't have a gasket. This is a steel shim that goes in between the two halves. I imagine that's got the right distance for clearance and everything. So put that steel shim in, put that back together, and I'll take apart that thing and clean it off with some brake clean again. Yeah, that's the pressure release valve. So I've taken that apart and cleaned it out with brake clean. Then I poured a bunch of WD-40 into it and put it back together. All back together in there. Does it turn? Yeah, it turns, no problem. Okay, so that's that part ready to go back into the motor whenever we're ready to put it back in the motor. Okay? So that should be finished dripping out there. I'll bring it in and I'll start lapping those, what do you call those things? Valves. Yeah, so now to test, I don't know, can you see all that? To test this, the valve stem, you just push that, and you push the valve out there, like that far, and I'll get this thing on it. And then, wait a minute, I'll see if I can set you up here somewhere where you can see this. Yeah, you can see that, I think. Just hanging precariously on the engine head here. Now, usually you'd clamp this down with a magnet to the, whoops. That's not a good start. Yeah, so usually you clamp this down with a magnet, but this is aluminum, so it won't clamp to anything. Anyhow, now you push on the back of the valve stem, you just push it into as far as it'll go into the stem. Then we just get this thing here set up on it. And it's allowed to have, the allowable distance is 8 thousandths of an inch. So there's 5 thousandths of an inch. This deal here is moving 5 thousandths of an inch back and forth. So that's well within tolerance. Now I'll go along the next one and the next one and get them done. And then I'll do the intakes. I think the intakes are less than that. So usually you can tell with your finger, like down here, you can tell by just moving that if it's loose or tight. So this one here is nice and tight. I'll just leave it in there because I want it in there later. Then I'll move along, do the rest of them, and I'll tell you if there's anything out of sorts. Yeah, so each one of these ones, if you measure it, like if you push it in there like that, if you measure back and forth across that way, like that way to that way, it measures about 6/1000ths of an inch. If you measure it this way, pushing it back and forth this way, it's about 8/1000ths of an inch. So that's right at the wear limit. Like that's what they say. If it's more than 8/1000, then you should be changing the guides. But it's right at the limit, so I'm going to be all right with that. Now I'll see if I can get the intake ones measured. I think the intake one measures, they'll measure close to 0.4 or something like that, just by the feel of them. Yeah, so all the top ones, all the call them top ones, all the intakes, they get less wear than the exhausts for some reason. Maybe they don't get as hot or whatever, but they're all 0.003 or less. 0.003, whatever that is. Yeah, 0.003. I think that's right. Anyway, everything here is good. Now I'll just have to start lapping them. Oops. Yeah, so there's the first one lapped up, and that came out very nicely. Like that's great. I don't have any problem at all with that. And in the interior here, that looks really good. Now I've got this tool here. I'll show you how it works on my drill. And this goes on the valve, and then this thing here makes it go back and forth, so it gets lapped up properly. Anyway, and I'll run the camera on that one there, next one over. Hang on. Yeah, so can you see that one? Maybe I'll go over here into the light. Get into the light. See that one, what it looks like now. Now I've cleaned these all off on the wire wheel, so they're not bad. And you can maybe see what it looks like before I do anything. There's some, just some dirt and pitting there. No pitting really, just dirt. So now I'll put you up here, right? Are you looking at where do we want to be? Right over there? Yeah. How's that? Anyhow, now I stirred up. This is my stuff. What do you call it? Valve grinding compound. Fine. Then you just put a bit. Like I've got a lifetime supply of this stuff, eh? I had a lifetime supply one other time too, but I lost it somewhere because I bought it like 40 or 50 years ago. Yeah, did I get some? Gotta watch not to get too much debris on the stems. There, that's in. Not much debris on me. Now this thing here, I put a little bit of WD-40 on the end of this thing, and that makes it suck better or stick better. I hope. See there, it'll come up and down. Then you have to hold on to here to make it so that if you don't hold on to that, it'll just go around like a drill. But if you hold on to here, it'll go back and forth. See that? See how it's going back and forth there? And whenever you hear it, you don't hear any noise of grinding, then just lift it up and the grinding compound will reset itself and put it back down again. Doesn't take long. Because these were pretty clean to start with. About 10 lifts is what I do. And then I call that good. And I'll take it off, pull it back out of there. Clean it off here. Clean off this. Now I'll have to go and clean it off very well later. Like with brake clean, I'll spray brake clean all through here and get this stuff out of here. But for right now, that seat there looks really good. I don't know, can you see that? Wonder if it's focused. I think the camera's having some problem with focusing these days. Anyhow, and then down in here, you see down there, that seat looks pretty darn good. So anyhow, I'll carry on with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 2 done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 more to go. So I'll if anything comes out bad, I'll let you know. Okay, here now. Hopefully this is focusing in on this stuff now. I've got them all. Where's my light? Covered with WD-40. Everything is sprayed out with brake clean, and then sprayed with fogged it with WD-40. So that's all pretty clean there. Now let's have a look at the valves. The seats look just the same as the valves, so I'll just have a look at a couple of the valves here. I've got them all cleaned off with brake clean too, over to the sunlight here. There. Is that focused? Got it on 4K. Hopefully it'll focus up on that. Looks pretty good. And then I'll just pick another random one out of the pile. Number 3 intake. I think that'll be fine. So they all look alike about that, and all the seats look like about that. So, and there doesn't seem to be any marks anywhere that would make a problem. So this thing here, it works pretty good. It makes it easy and fast. Less like it's really tedious when you gotta do the old twist thing with the wooden stick. Yeah, so I went out and pressure washed the whole thing. The block I went with what's this stuff? Put this on with a what do you call that? A brush, and then let it set for a few minutes, and then brushed it up, rubbed it, got it off with the pressure washer. Now I'll take a compressed air and blow through everything. See if I can get all the water out of the oil channels. Anyhow, I put water through all the oil channels, and they all seem to run pretty good. And I put water through all the water channels and clean them out. And then I hit these things with high pressure water, and all the guck from the below there guggled up, and that was good. So first thing I'll do is just dry off the top there, and I'll dry out these cylinders, and then I'll turn it over and we'll blow some air through it. Yeah, I'll give it a quick coat of paint. Just finished off my other can on there. Got the creature from the Black Lagoon here. Should I have some rubber gloves on? Hang on. Okay, here we go. Oh, let's see how this works out. That looks a bit better, eh? No, I won't worry about it too much. Give it about 5 minutes and I'll give it another coat. Yeah, there you go. That's enough for today, right? So we'll come back tomorrow and see about cleaning those things up. See how much time we've used up on this video. Don't know. Yeah, there. That's just like brand new, right? Out of the factory. Straight out of the factory. Mint. Anyway, now these are all done. I'll put the valves back in. First, I'll measure those valve springs. You know, it's another thing that I can, you know the answer and ignore it, sort of thing. Then we'll just see what happens then. Next, then. Okay. Yeah, so this chain has a master link in it. So I'm pretty sure it's a what do you call that? Newish chain. So now I have to make sure I get the master link going the right way, because if you get the master link going backwards, it'll catch and unclick it. So it's got to go this way. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so I went through and cleaned up all these things, all the valve springs and the bases. So they're all set to go. Valves are all cleaned up. This is all cleaned up. Now I'll go and clean up the pistons, and that's the last thing I have to clean up before I start reassembling. Okay, that's coming up. Yeah, here's piston number 1, right? So I'll just pull the rings off it. I could check and see if these are worn out at all, but I think I'll just keep them around. Sometimes when I'm putting pistons together, that should be like that. That's number 2. Sometimes when you're putting them together, you inadvertently break one. So it's good to have a spare ring or 2 around. This oil ring sometimes is a challenge. Yeah, like right now. There we go. So I just pull the bottom one off towards the bottom. That'll just they're pretty flexible, so easy to get a, well, can't say that easy, right? Then the top one I'll pull off towards the top. And then this bit here comes out. So there's one set of rings. Now it's got a bevel towards the up, and it's got, looks like there's a little bit of a bevel or something out there, I'm not sure. Sometimes they have a dot towards the up, or I think that's a bit of a bevel there, I'm not sure. And then that oil ring just is an oil ring. But the new ones should have instructions on them, what way they go. And I'll just clean that off, and I won't get too far into them because that's about as clean as can be on the in there. I'll just run a paper towel through that to clean it off. And then this, like, it'll go back and forth, no problem. But there's no play. There's back and forth play, but no angular play. So I think we're good in there. I'll let that be. Okay, I'll clean off the top and I'll show you what it's like when I'm done. Yeah, there you go. That's got a little arrow on it pointing that way. Size is 88.97. And like it's all good. This I am convinced that the rings and whatever you call it, rings and the bearings are reasonably fresh on this from a previous owner, and so it's all like it's just way too clean to be 50 years worth. Anyway, that's one done. Very quickly, one done. I'll get the other 3 done and that'll be that. Yeah, here, number 4 has got that ring is stuck in there. See if I can get it to come out. Yeah, there, it's moving now. That side anyhow. I don't know if it's broken. Sure is stuck. And put a bit of oil in there. There we go. It's free now. And not broken, just got some yuck and dirt in there from hanging around. That's enough reason right there to take the motor apart. Yeah, so that one's pretty yucky. Now that would be where everything collects because the motor's on a bit of a tilt, right? Towards the back. So anyway. Oh, come on. There we go. So earlier I was taking it off with the oil ring going this way, and I found out it's better to go that way. Easier. Take the top one out, take the bottom one out, and then take the ring in the middle thing out. There's the end of it. Now all the other pistons, I've just, there we go. Oops, bring there. There, it's all out. Aye, aye, aye. So all the other pistons I've just cleaned them out. I wrap a rag around an old, what do you call that thing? Razor blade, hacksaw blade. Now you don't see many hacksaw blades around anymore, so maybe like if you like a reciprocating saw blade would do the same, that kind of width. That's what you want. Now the old ones I've marked every one of them and kept them in their order just because. And then what I've done with all the other cylinders is just taken this, like that's, I wrap it around pretty big here because this side here I use for the oil ring. Just get it in there. And that cleans it up. And they're exceptionally clean, these things anyhow. They like they're clean. And then for the narrow ones, I just wrap it around a couple of turns. And then this second one should be all right. But the top one will be dirty, I think. We'll see what we get out of it. That one there is even dirty, right? So then we'll go off here. Lots of dirt on there. Whoop! Hit you. Whacking the camera. That came pretty dirty. But it's getting to be not bad now. Now the other thing you can do is just take the rag off, right? And this is an old hacksaw blade that's been around forever. I've used it for this before. And don't take it against, like, drag it so that it doesn't, not on the sharp edge, just on the, so it's not in the cutting mode, it's just in the dragging mode. And that'll get all that accumulated dirt out of there. We'll hope. Looking pretty good now. Now, we'll just WD them. Try it like that. See what we get. That's coming pretty clean there now. So I think we got it cleaned out all right. Now that's pretty lucky because sometimes, like on old pistons that have the 50 years on them, it'll all be full of carbon and everything in there. Then it really takes a lot of work with the back of the razor blade. Like, see how the blades are on the razor blade pointing that way? You want to drag it this way across so that it doesn't. It'll only take the dirt off. It won't take anything else off. So that's okay now. And I've got a razor blade here with dirt on it. Making more dirt than I had to start with. Just a couple of little bits of yucco left over, but not bad. Think we're okay. So that's number 4 done. Those are all done. Yay. Yeah, there. That's that cleaned up. That cleaned up. This thing here set to go. I'll blow air through all these channels. I did once already, but I'll do it again. And I'll blow air through any channels on that. I don't think there's any channels on it. It's all from above sort of business. Now, and then the pistons are all cleaned up and all the old rings are out of them. So that's enough for this video because I'm pretty sure there's more than enough footage now for enough to get you bored. Right, so this has got new parts in it that I'll get into next week. And we'll start putting it back together because I think everything's cleaned up and ready to go now. Okay, hope you enjoyed it all. Like, subscribe, do whatever you like there, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Yeah, these are the PEI flower. You don't see very many of them around. Lady slippers. I haven't seen any for years. But there's 3 of them here. Helen saw them and she turned me on to them. Yeah, a couple of ducks right there. And way over on that log over there, there's an immature eagle looking around wondering what to get. Just taking it easy. Wonder if he'll take off. I don't know. Otherwise, pretty quiet around here. That's the most action I've seen in a long time. Maybe that, there he goes. Taking off. Those are pretty big birds. Well, that's an exciting day at the Cove, right? And tide is pretty outish. And the doggies here. Anyway, there you go.